Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a new video. I figured that for this, I would be covering the Public Service Commissioners elections in the state of Georgia, the crucial swing state of Georgia. This election is not really well known by much. Not really people know much about what the Public Service Commissioners do. However, in Georgia, there is a board of them, of Public Service Commissioners, and they basically represent a district and they make decisions like on utility bills and all that type of stuff. However, they are elected statewide, so they do have the voters to go over that. So, with that being said, let's move on to what Wikipedia has to tell us. It says it will be held on November 4th, tomorrow, to elect two members. So there are two elections for the Public Service Commissioners. You have incumbent Tim Eagles running and Republican Fitz Johnson running. These are both incumbents who have raised quite a bit of money. Both thought of to be more establishment, and they're facing Democratic challengers. These will be very competitive elections, nonetheless. So, what does this tell us? So, Democrats are hoping to be able to at least flip one of these seats to Republicans, so they can have a at least one member in the Public Service Commissioner Board. And Republicans are hoping to maintain their dominance and hoping to secure more victories statewide. Georgia currently is controlled by Republicans completely. The only statewide elected Democrats are the U.S. Senators, which are both Democrats. So let's get into the meat of this. Again, you have Tim Eagles running. He's been in there for quite a while, since 2011. He last won his election back in 2016 against the Libertarian candidate. He won pretty much every single county, except for he even won. He won really some liberal areas. This election was quite different. But you can tell that he's been there for a while. He's been there since, again, 2011. And then you have, for the District 3, Tim Eagles is District 2. Fitz Johnson represents District 3. As you can tell over here, he is running for re-election. He's actually appointed around 2021 by Governor Brian Kemp. As you can tell, before him, Chuck Eaton occupied the seat, and he won by a healthy 3 points, as you can tell. So both are up for re-election. They represent different districts throughout the state, so public service commissioners, but the whole state as a whole elects them. So who do I think is going to win? Well, I have two tabs, of course, for both elections. I'm going to start off with Tim Eagles. I think he's going to win I think it's very likely that both of these elections go into a runoff. I think Tim Eagles might just barely make it past a runoff. It's going to be a close election. But as you can tell, I got some competitive counties, the Republican rurals, and you got the dense Democratic areas of Atlanta and its suburbs, and then a few other liberal areas. But you have some competitive areas. I think Tim Eagles will win re-election, so I think he'll have the edge in places like Sumter County, Washington County, and maybe Baldwin. I think his Democratic challenger, Alyssa Johnson, might win some of these competitive areas. I think she'll end up winning Jefferson County, but I think we're going to give him Baldwin County. It's going to be a close election. It'll be interesting to see how these turn out. That's basically how that is. I think Tim Eagles will get reelected. He represents this part of the state, and that's why I think he'll do pretty well over here. It's more of a rural area. So he should be able to win. Then we have Fitz Johnson. He's another incumbent. I believe he was in the military, and public official from Georgia, it says. and he is the second African American and first Black Republican to serve on the Georgia Public Service Commission. So, kind of made history when he was appointed by Republican Governor Brian Kemp. This will be a more. I think this will actually be the closest one. I think since he hasn't been elected by himself, he hasn't proven that he is that he can win. I still think he very much could. It's going to be interesting to see with the low turnout who's going to win. I think Peter Hubbard seems to be running a decent campaign. I think I'm gonna give him the narrow edge. I think he'll probably win by a similar margin that John Ossoff won back in 2020 or 2021. Very close election. I think that this might go much go to a runoff. Uh, his district is more in the incumbent Fitz Johnson's district is more in the Atlanta area, so it's more suburban, and I think Democrats might be more motivated to turn out. I'm not sure, but I think there's a good chance. I'm going to give him the edge in some of these areas. I think he'll be able to win these competitive areas. I think Fitz Johnson definitely could win. It's going to be close elections for the public service commissioners in Georgia. That is basically how these elections I think will turn out. Slightly different results for both candidates. I'm not really sure who's. It's going to be a close election regardless. We'll just have to see how it turns out. But that's currently where things stand on the Georgia Public Services Commission. Thank you for watching this video, and have a good day.